Hey, we're live. I'll be darned.
We're live.
While we're shooting the breeze here, all of a sudden something's happened. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the gathering room at the Village Green Lodge in Ephraim. I've got two really interesting guests here today that we're gonna focus on history, and then I'm gonna see if I can actually kind of get some buy-in with changing the name of Ephraim. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So we got Cody, he's in the middle, and I got Jeff all the way on my left. And these gentlemen are here representing and are such an integral part of the Ephraim Historical Foundation. And what's fun about what's happening right now in front of all of us is that they get to kind of see how we get to see your reaction to music.
Yeah. I've never heard it before.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, this will be interesting. Very interesting to well, and I appreciate the fact that you are so confident in my ability to make music. It might not be it'll be something. It's always something here at the old gathering room at the Village Green Lodge. So today's show is all focused about history. We're going to talk about a lot of history. And so because of that, one of the nautical tunes that I kind of like to sing, and my friend Gina, who is here listening for the second day in a row, is she's been bothering me about singing kind of a nautical song. So I'm going to try my best. And so if it's not any good, it's really because of Gina. You can't blame me. That's kind of oh, and this song also entails a capo, which I'm not familiar with actually. What the capo actually does, other than
I believe it changes the key.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're gonna find out.
Yeah, we are finding out as we speak. Yeah. So we were born before the wind, also younger than the sun, and the body boat was one as we sailed into the misty. Now hark now, hear the sailors cry, and smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and your spirit fly into the misty. When that foghorn whistle blows, I'll be coming home, yeah. When that foghorn whistle blows, wanna hear it. You don't have to fear it, 'cause I wanna rock your gypsy soul. Just like back in the days of old, and magnificent we will flow into the misty. When that foghorn whistle blows, I'll be coming home, yeah. When that foghorn whistle blows, I gotta hear it. I don't have to fear it, 'cause I wanna rock your gypsy soul. Just like back in the days of old, and magnificent we will flow into the misty. Come on, girl. There you go. That's it. Whoa, thank you. Very nice of everyone. So, how was the reaction? were you okay, or you
I
bored
was-
a little bit?
The
It was
capo
enjoyable.
The capo totally makes it. It makes that song.
works.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
It's always fun, I think, to talk about history when you live in a town that is historical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For sure.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of it here.
There really is.
Mm.
So I've got tons of questions, but I'd like you to kind of introduce yourselves. Tell us all about who you are, how you became such a history fanatic that you've endeavored now with the Historical Foundation of Ephraim.
I'm gonna let you kick it off.
I'm starting.
Yeah.
Nice.
My name is Jeff O'Keefe. I'm the Curator and Collections Manager for the Ephraim Historical Foundation. I grew up coming to Door County. My mom and my grandparents. My grandparents had a place up here as my mom was growing up. So I like to say that I've been coming here before I was born. But
Well,
I had
I'm sure your dad wants to say that too.
yeah. The first span of time I lived here though was in like 2019 to 2021-ish. I worked for some radio stations, The Lodge and Rewind up the hill here in Ephraim, and then Chicago for a job. I'm from Chicago, and then back up here for this job here. But I have a background. My bachelor's is in photography, and I have some kind of experience in like visual arts management, gallery
That's great.
stuff. So
Very nice. And Cody, what about you?
Yeah, I'm Cody Schreck. I'm the executive director of the Ephraim Historical Foundation. So I came up here about 3 years ago. I was actually hired as the curator at the time, and then took over as interim director about this time last year, and then took over executive director in October last year. I'm from the Milwaukee area. I used to come up to Fish Creek as a kid. Did my my undergraduate and graduate work in museum studies and nonprofit management. So a job popped up in Door County. I knew Door County was beautiful, full of history, so I jumped at it and luckily got the job. So very happy to be here.
So this is great. I mean, you guys are bringing kind of a new, fresh perspective to the management and the function of all of the things that are part of the foundation.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, especially people our age, when they think of historical foundations, they think of retirees volunteering, which is part of our base. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without volunteers, but I think sometimes people are surprised to see we have 3 full-time staff and a part-time staff member, and we're all relatively young. We're passionate about history, about doing programs. So I think it's a good, refreshing thing to have in Ephraim.
Yeah, absolutely. You
No,
have anything to add in? No.
not really much to add about that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Good,
Yeah,
smart,
ditto.
because it's your boss. You got to kind of.
Yeah, you have to say it.
You're my boss.
Well, that's a good question. Do you guys have a hierarchy?
We do have a hierarchy. I guess technically, yes, I'm your boss.
Yeah.
But we all work towards the same goal.
Absolutely. So now, of course, speaking of the hierarchy of it all, you also have a board,
Yeah. Yep.
and the board consists of what, primarily people that live here in Ephraim, or are they all around the world?
I mean, all have connections to Ephraim. That's why they're on the board, because they're passionate about our mission. I mean, we're a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit. So the way we're governed is, we have a board of directors that dictates kind of the long range plans of everything, and I work with them and kind of implement that on a day to day. But all of those individuals, they either have family connections to Door County and Ephraim, they own a business in Ephraim, or they're just passionate about history. So it's the board changes over every 3 years, and we constantly have people being involved doing things. So,
Yeah, great combination
Yeah.
of interests and backgrounds. So what's it take to be on the board?
interest. That's about
That's
it.
it?
Yeah. As long as you're a member of the foundation, which is a pretty nominal fee. I think it's $75 a year right now. And then, just have to be a member and just express interest. And if a vacancy pops up, the board kind of works with you and gets you acquainted, and you get nominated by the actual members themselves. People that pay to be members of the foundation get to vote on the board of directors. So,
Sure.
yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit. What exactly is, and please you don't have to recite it, but what exactly is your mission as an organization?
I will not recite it because it's long. No, we were founded in 1949, and over the years they've added to that mission quite a bit. But the essence of it is just, devoted to preserving, sharing, and preserving the history, the culture of Ephraim, Wisconsin, which is it's unique. I mean, there's certainly pieces of larger Wisconsin culture embedded into Ephraim, but it has its kind of own flavor of history that is unique, and people obviously believe needs to be preserved.
Absolutely. And what I find kind of interesting among a lot of the other little tidbits about history here in Ephraim is the photos of the dock.
Yeah.
And people, how they utilized Ephraim is always kind of interesting. You know, coming up from Milwaukee on a steamboat or Chicago on a steamboat, and very Gilded Age kind of vibe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have pictures
yeah.
we could show
Oh,
of the Gilded Age.
oh,
This
nice.
is a pretty famous picture that we have in our collection. This shows the SS Carolina docking at Anderson Dock in about 1916. So that dock structure you see is the same one you see today. It's just got a lot of paint on it now.
Yes, a little different vibe.
Yeah, but this is how tourists used to get to Ephraim in 1916. I mean, a lot of people think of tourism in Door County being kind of a modern phenomenon. It's very much a historic phenomenon.
Yeah.
I will say that, you know, the people that were visiting back in 1916, demographically were much wealthier. You needed money to be able to stay up here. People vacationed different back in 1916. These individuals getting off this boat were likely staying the entire summer. They weren't staying for a weekend.
Yeah.
In many cases, the children and the wife would stay in a cottage all summer, in a hotel all summer, where their food was paid for, their lodging was all there, and the
All
husband.
inclusive then.
Yeah, essentially, it was called the American Plan.
Yeah, well, the American plan was the inclusion of 3 meals a day with
Right.
board, right?
Yeah.
And was there a less expensive plan?
So in
Like
the
the Canadian
beginning,
plan?
well, in the beginning of a lot of the hotels around here, most of it was just the American plan, and then as vacationing changed into like mid-century into the 1950s, 1960s, people started staying just a weekend or something like that. So you didn't or there were more restaurants also popping up around the peninsula too, and it was not necessarily that you had to eat at your hotel, which was sort of what you had to do.
And also, kind of, let's face the facts, from the early 1900s to the 1950s, food and preservation of food,
and
much different.
Culture, society, everything.
Sure, everything was changing.
The one thing I'll add,
wars.
the World Wars, and then just the advent and the proliferation of the automobile.
Yeah.
The roads in Door County were rock and dirt around 1916. I think there's an old advert we have in our archives, which we have a pretty sizable archival collection, but there's an old advert for people visiting Door County that says if you're going to visit Door County, make sure you bring at least 3 spare tires.
Yeah.
So so I mean, the proliferation of the automobile certainly helped people get around. Over the years.
So what's funny is Rhonda, actually, they showed up the other day, and unfortunately they had a little flat. They had the guy from Sturge had to come up today and help them out. To
Didn't have all 3 spares.
That's right. 3 spares would have done the trick for you. That was good. Yeah. That's a neat perspective on how, I mean, I've always kind of heard that so many of these historical buildings that are facing the waterfront obviously started as, the really origin of bed and breakfast, if you will.
Yeah, right.
Families staying the week kind of thing. And then back in those days, I guess the fathers would end up going back to Milwaukee and Chicago and earn a living.
Well, that's what I was gonna say too. Is I know the wife and kids would stay up all summer, but especially from Chicago, Milwaukee, the husband would take a stagecoach down to Sturgeon Bay where he could hop on the train and take the train down to Chicago for the week and come back for the weekends.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Yep. A very different way of vacationing than we do it now.
Exactly.
So even more context given though that previous picture, Anderson Dock.
Sure.
Also Anderson Dock.
Yeah, this is the earliest known image we have of Anderson Dock.
Ooh, I love it.
A little different than what you see today. The original Anderson Dock, actually, the warehouse structure itself was destroyed in a storm and was replaced by this one in this picture. This one was burnt in 1880, and in 1880 they rebuilt it to what it is now.
Yeah.
So
And
this
back up a second. 1880. So Ephraim was founded in 1860.
1853.
53.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So just
30 years in.
5 years after the state.
Gotcha.
The state.
Okay.
Yep.
And at that time, no roads.
No. When it was founded, the nearest post office was 75 miles away.
No kidding. Not even
Green
Sturge.
Bay.
So we're talking Green Bay.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, there's
Fort Howard.
Yeah,
Before
Fort
Green Bay.
Howard.
yeah, before it was
sure.
Green Bay,
Yeah.
right?
Before it was a toilet paper magnet.
Yeah, correct, right. Yeah, no, I mean, there's accounts of individuals just to get supplies walking across the ice from Ephraim down to Green Bay, just following the shoreline.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to kind of.
No,
clarify
that
the
gives you a
time.
good idea. I mean, really too, Ephraim was a port, it exported raw goods like cedar and bark. out to places like Milwaukee that, turned it into things at tanneries like leather shoes that got returned and sold at places like Anderson store. We were sending out raw goods and getting manufactured goods in return. And that was the economy of Ephraim until really the tourism started in the late 1800s.
Interesting.
Yep.
What I love about this picture also is you can see Eagle Bluff over here on the left, but then you can see Horseshoe Island there on the right.
Some things don't change.
Well, fortunately for Boda, the guy.
Folda.
The
Folda.
The Foldas.
Yeah, who was the Commodore, right?
He was a Commodore of the Yacht Club. He was
Yes.
a very rich banker from Nebraska who owned essentially what was a mansion on Horseshoe Island at one point. We have some fascinating pictures of a fireplace that you could essentially walk inside of.
Yeah.
And now if you go out there's nothing there.
You're right.
Yeah, their family, I don't know, there was a book that was published by Tank.
Yeah, the Horseshoe Island, the Folda years.
Horseshoe Island, the Folda years, and just the kind of storied past of that family one. But then, it wasn't necessarily that they came crashing down with the Depression.
Yeah.
But it lasted a little while longer, and then resort to them literally selling the logs of the
buildings.
Oh goodness.
Everything down from down to the foundation. So
they had an estate sale out of the basement of the village hall in the 1930s.
Really?
Yep. Selling off all
Sad
their
little
stuff.
story.
It's a very sad story, but the family's still around. They live, well, not around, but the descendants live in Hawaii and California, and
So they did okay.
They did fine.
I think after after they sold everything that they had here, they were in California with their kids, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've actually been talking with one of the descendants fairly recently about just various
They've
things.
donated a lot of cool stuff.
They have donated a lot of cool artifacts from the family.
I also heard, perhaps this is just one of these urban myths that we've propagated here at the Village Green Lodge and Sunset Pizza, but
Notorious.
excuse me, I do like my stories. That at some point there was a barge that showed up at a really cool beach that was similar to Schoolhouse Beach, and they pilfered a bunch of stones so that the stones could be placed in perhaps their beautiful fireplace or their own beach on Horseshoe Island.
As with all folklore, there's a nugget of truth with that. And the nugget of truth is actually pretty large in that you pretty much nailed it.
Nice. So I haven't been spreading blasphemous rumors.
The only thing you got wrong is it wasn't for the fireplace, it was for their porch.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so we have fascinating pictures of essentially what you find at Pebble Beach and Schoolhouse Beach, those beautiful flat stones.
Yes.
He had asked the property owner, I believe it was in Fish Creek, if he could use those stones for his porch. The gentleman said no. And in the darkness of night, lo and behold, he got his stones.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it takes stones to take stones.
Yes.
Yeah. No kidding. I didn't actually, that wasn't set up earlier.
That was all. No, that was good.
Yeah. Boy. So let's get back to the buildings here. One of the things I think is really tons of fun that you guys do is this golf cart that is really luxurious.
Yeah.
And you take people around on curated, somewhat private tours.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, you have to take, you have to reserve these tours. It's a 5-person electric tram. And what we do is we start at our main location on Anderson Lane. And a tour guide goes with you and takes you to historic sites throughout the village and kind of gives you an overview of Ephraim's history. And then after the tour, we of course have our buildings open for free to the public for admission. We have 5 historic sites ranging from, the oldest frame home in Door County to the general store, which was, in operation until the 1950s.
Yeah, the general store is a neat little spot. And all of those venues are open, April to November?
Yeah, it's about Memorial Day weekend until usually the weekend before Fall Fest. We try to avoid the hecticness of Fall Fest.
Sure.
But we do, our archives are open year round for people. We're in the offices year round. We're doing research, working on things all the time. So just because our historic buildings close, we're still around.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is kind of a curveball.
Love them.
So Freddie Breidenhagen
Mhm.
and his father, I believe,
Baldy.
Yep.
Yep.
They were the first to construct the Village Green Lodge.
Mhm.
So this is a little self-serving. But you're here,
I'm here.
and you guys are the authority. So I've heard that Baldy, being the sheriff of Door County at the time, was a little upset that there was a building that was constructed in front of his beach view, and he gave all the construction workers tickets, speeding tickets through Ephraim that year. Is there any documentation that we can, perhaps even a speeding ticket itself?
Not in our collection.
Not that I've run across in our collection.
Okay.
The county might have.
Yeah, the county.
Urban myth, once
Yeah.
again,
Yep.
and propagated.
I bet we can figure out if that's true or
Yeah, that's a good point too. And that even if we don't have something in our archives, we work with not only museums and other institutions across, the United States and elsewhere, but we work with the county government as well in terms of researching properties and researching stuff like that. So if you have interest in history related to Ephraim, even if we don't have it, we can direct you to
Yeah, that's great.
those answers. Yep.
I've often said that I am the oldest business on Poplar Street, which I don't think is a lie.
Is this Poplar right here?
It is, yeah.
So the
Two addresses
parsonage,
there.
Bethany Parsonage
Yeah,
right there,
yeah.
that's a very historic building. That was Peter Peterson's home.
Okay.
Peter Peterson was actually one of the original immigrants in here to Ephraim. He's one of the unique Norwegian immigrants that actually returned to Norway. He came from Norway here and went right back. No, he didn't go right back. He did some stuff here. He actually did run a store, but I don't believe he ran out of his building. So you actually might be right. You might be the oldest one in Poplar.
Oh boy, that would be really neat.
Yeah.
I could make a tagline out of that.
You could
do it.
Yeah, that would be, yeah,
the oldest
Nice.
building on Poplar.
nice. So a question that was raised to me earlier today when folks realized you guys were going to be here. Are any of our historic buildings haunted?
I knew you were gonna say that.
I knew you knew that yes.
I've never experienced anything.
I have never experienced it.
So one of the issues that I have about ghosts
Hmm.
is that you can't see them.
I mean, that's one.
Yeah. And every historical building doesn't have to have spirits.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly, not something we've experienced. It's not something I'm against necessarily. I know there's definitely institutions throughout the United States in terms of museums and historic homes who have had experiences in their buildings and done well to, promote them and market them in a way
Yeah.
that's beneficial to preserving their buildings. So, maybe we'll have to give you a tour behind the scenes down in some of the cellars.
As long as it's not scary. I'm not really into
That Iverson
This-
House cellar.
Oh,
It's
that's
scary.
a big one.
That's an old
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk funding, because I think none
Yeah.
of your work takes place without a real solid commitment to the people that are funding the process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about how all of that takes place.
Yeah, so a lot of museums receive what we'll call municipal funding through their city governments, village governments, county governments. We receive zero municipal funding, so we're funded entirely by our membership.
Great.
Through membership dues, we don't charge for our museums, we charge for tours, but that's a pretty nominal fee. We do sell some merchandise at the general store, pretty nominal fee. We also
These shirts.
we
These
sell
are sharp,
shirts.
by the way.
We
I
sell
like
shirts.
them. Yeah,
Hey,
good merch.
what's not on this shirt is actually who designed this. You know who designed this logo?
I'm gonna guess that it was Hal Halverson.
That's a great guess. Karsten Topelman.
Karsten, of course. My goodness.
Karsten Topelman helped
Like-
us redesign our logo in 2016, and this was one that he came up with that we didn't use for the final product, but we have still in our archives, and we decided it'd be an awesome piece to put on some merchandise.
Yeah, that really touches my. What a great, wonderful person.
Oh, absolutely.
And just a great community member. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys
So
sticking
we,
with that for a while? You're gonna like
Yeah, some
promote
merch
more
with
of it, or
this,
is it
yeah.
just limited edition?
We have these, we have the sweatshirts, and then there's also t-shirts.
Yeah.
So we have a stock of them.
And we worked with the EBC to make that
Yeah.
retro fear ball shirt this
Yeah.
year.
Yes,
Beer
I
ball,
saw that.
yep,
That was
shirts
cool. And by the
like
time I made a
hotcakes.
phone call, couldn't get them. They were
They're
all
gone
sold
now.
out.
Oh yeah, they were
Yeah.
sold out real
Dynamite.
fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in terms of if we're talking about funding still,
Yeah.
I will say
Please.
that we were very lucky. I said we were founded in 1949. Started as we actually just one building saving that schoolhouse up in
Mm.
1949. They were going to destroy it in 1949, and a group of locals got together and saved it, created a 501c3. And that became the Ephraim Historical Foundation. But we were lucky to have a lot of great board members over the years who actually created an endowment for us. So we have a separate, we'll call it a Friends Board, a Heritage Fund Board it's called, and they oversee the management of our endowment fund. So we get, we can take a certain percentage of the endowment every year to help us with what we do in terms of preservation and exhibits and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
boy, that's great.
ensuring the perpetuity of our organization, which
You
we're
bet.
very lucky.
So if anybody out there that's watching this knows anybody from the Gates Foundation,
Send them
You
my
need to
way.
talk to Cody and
Send 'em my
Jeff.
way.
These guys, you're doing great work, and it's really such a cornerstone to Ephraim. The work that you guys do, and the fact that uh, not only just preserving these things, but then actually kind of showcasing them
Oh yeah.
and allowing people to be interactive with it. It means a lot more when as opposed to just going into an exhibit, but you're physically in
Yeah.
places where people live, they work.
Well, I think the important thing about historic kind of institutions like this is the interpretation of what you're trying to protect, the interpretation of our buildings or of our collections, things like that, putting on programs to give people context, not only to what has happened in the past, but that,
Yeah.
we're all right here in this place, right?
Yeah, this is the history is ours.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Still here.
and then
still
there's a
happening.
degree of responsibility as a community member that you've got somewhat of a legacy to kind of stand up against and preserve yourself. So frankly, that's really prevented me from graffiti elsewhere where it's not wanted. Because others before me didn't do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Among many other reasons, but I kid. Hey, I'm kind of curious. I ask everybody this. This has been really great.
Yeah, it's fun.
And really a lot of fun and so informative and nice. I would love it. I'm going to get you on camera, but I would love it if we could do this maybe every other week and just showcase one building.
That'd be fun.
And because it's informative and people really want to know, and it just kind of helps with the mission and everything.
Yeah, I mean, history is all about stories, and the amount of stories in Ephraim are pretty endless. So
It's true. It's true. And I'm kind of doing my best to kind of promote stories that are kind of self-serving, but have a little bit of a flair to them. It's not all about
the village green.
right. Some of it's about Sunset Pizza. I'm gonna be honest.
Gotta keep it even. Right?
Exactly. Right. But I do ask everybody this, and and the one caveat that I will say before I ask, you can't have a duplicate answer. So who's going to go first?
Oh, I'll take the challenge. You go first.
Yeah, you go
Nice.
first.
All right. So Jeff, what is your favorite hike here in Door County?
Oh, my favorite hike.
Gotcha.
Oh, that is a hard question to answer.
Gotcha.
Is it the winter or is it the summer?
Oh, very
That's a
nice.
question.
Very nice.
That's the clap back there.
Well, since we're in July, I think it
Yeah.
would be appropriate for
Summer.
we can get the winter after.
I think
Stumped him.
it's probably Anderson Pond or
The dark horse.
No
like
kidding.
I don't know, tough point.
You can only choose one. You can name several, but you have to come up with one.
We're gonna do tough point.
Tough point.
That was potentially going to be mine as well.
Classic. Yes.
A
Being a
little
history guy.
a little off the beaten path.
Nice. Yeah. And the history there
Especially
is
in the
living
summer.
as well.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
certainly,
really
yeah.
wonderful. So
And some old growth forest. Old
yeah,
forest.
you get close to the boreal forest. That's
Ooh, I was going to say tough. That's. I mean,
That's
like
all.
Jeff said, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
I am going to say the Holtz Trail at Newport.
Okay, so I will tell you, I've been asking a lot of people this question, and I've been a little bit surprised, but Hotes really is starting to come. It's leading the pack.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, the people that I can kind of tell are really not into hiking always gravitate towards Eagle Trail, which of course I
Beautiful
love.
trail, right?
It is.
But it's not for me. It's not a top because I am a professional hiker. I didn't know if you guys knew
Did
that.
not know that.
Yeah,
I did
that's
know that.
something that I'm proud of. Yeah, it's weird. I get the reaction all the time about that. It's strange. Not many people understand what is exciting about
Who are
being
your
a
hiking sponsors?
Well, I don't think that's any of your business. But, yeah, but I appreciate the question. Indeed, yeah,
Well, you're getting support.
that's right. All around.
That's what
yes,
matters.
yes. But it's funny. I think Hodes Trail is starting to edge out what
Yeah.
would traditionally be thought of here in our area as the best hike. What's yours?
I do love you.
Good question. So I really like Bailey's Harbor Boreal Forest
Okay. Yeah.
over near Cana Island, and I discovered that I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, and it's like you're walking back into time. And the weird thing about it is that you're cruising through this trail and all of a sudden there's a corral. And it's like, what in the world are you doing over here? You know, and it looks as if somebody has homesteaded the area. It just looks like kind of the outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah.
You know, you just all of a sudden you're there.
I've never been out that.
Oh, really?
Into that park before.
It's neat. I
Trail.
highly recommend it. And this forest is.
I know where the
really
trailhead is, like on the way out.
It's not that far. It's maybe a 2-mile trail. Thanks for asking. Now, if somebody else asks, I'm going to tell something else.
Well, you can't record. You can't have a duplicate.
Can't.
If I had said the boreal forest, would you have said the boreal forest?
Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
You're not.
So no, I one. You know what they say? You've seen one boreal forest, you've seen them all. I don't actually know if they say that. But hey, let me get to the weather and a couple PSA announcements. Today was absolutely stellar.
Which one?
Just completely stellar. And tomorrow is probably going to be the same. So the weather today was in the 70s or so, maybe. Honestly,
I'm warm in this sweatshirt.
I was perfectly pleasant.
Yeah. So I mean, there you have it. If it's if the guys from the Historical Foundation
Can't agree.
It's good stuff. But kids, I love you. And the PSA is that when you come over for a vacation here at Ephraim, there's two things that you need to kind of focus on. The first is I'm just going to lay it out. Scotty Weborg hangs out at the fire station, and he does a great job at providing really just kind of an overview of what the historical artifacts are in the fire station. And he and his dad have done a remarkable job over the years to preserve all that stuff. And so that's definitely a must. But then, of course, stop by and see these guys because they can set you up on a tour. I would highly recommend that you contact them first. You don't just show up and say, hey, you know. So to that extent, why don't you guys tell us websites, phone numbers?
Yeah. So our website is www.ephraim.org. Phone number is 920-854-9688. We are on Instagram as Ephraim Historical and Facebook as Ephraim Historical Foundation.
Perfect.
And yeah, you can book the tram tours, the historic tram tours online on our website, ephraim.org. $10 per person, limit 5.
Gosh, best $50 you could spend for your family.
Registration for the day, you know, if it's on a Wednesday, registration for that closes midnight
The day before.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
and you know what's really great too is that you know, if it rains, you're in that really fancy electric cart, so you don't have to worry about weather.
It's got lights, it's got windshield wipers.
and we got a bunch of buildings for you to go in. They got roofs.
To avoid the rain. Yes.
Yes.
They still have roofs.
Running in and out.
They still have roofs.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to conclude the show, and hopefully these guys will sing. It's kind of, I mean, honestly, I think you guys can. You'll pick up on this. It's a classic. And anybody else out there that wants to sing, yeah, do it, because this is an opportunity. The other thing is that I always say no clowns. I know that's weird. And then no jugglers. We don't do that on the Gathering Room show. But if there's somebody that's interested in playing the piano or
Don't you play the bass?
miming,
Yeah, I do play the bass.
buckets. Do you play buckets? Next time I'll bring buckets.
Sure.
I play nothing.
Look at-
I think you can. You play the kazoo.
I could probably make a kazoo make a noise, yeah.
I mean, how much skill does it take to play the buckets?
Slow down, you move too fast. Got to make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestone, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Ba da ba 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 ba, oh it's groovy. Yellow lamppost, what you knowin'? Come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? fun and feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready to sleep. All those night times, those petals, well, they're falling on me. Life, I love you, all is groovy. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
So much fun.